Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages. The last video, I read you the story of the Boys of Steel, the creators of Superman, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. Now I'm going to read you Bill the Boy Wonder, the secret co-creator of Batman. Batman's biggest secret is not Bruce Wayne. You're going to find out who it is. This is also written by Mark Tyler Nobleman and illustrated by Tom Templeton, just like the Boys of Steel was. Oh no, the Boys of Steel was illustrated by Ross McDonald. This one's illustrated by Tom Templeton. All right. Every Batman story is marked with the words Batman, created by Bob Kane. For almost 30 years, fans did not suspect otherwise. But that is not the whole truth. Bob Kane himself finally said so. A Finger had a hand in it too. All right, now when you hear this story. After Milton Finger graduated from high school, he invented his first secret identity. In 1933, Jews were sometimes not hired just because they were Jews. Milton was commonly a Jewish name, so Milton chose a new one, Bill. So Milton Finger becomes Bill Finger, and appropriately named Finger because he was a writer. He started. Oh wow. Anyway, during the Great Depression, Bill's father was forced to close his Bronx tailor shop. The family was struggling, so Bill took any job he could get, one after the other, and disliked all of them. Bill's parents had pressured him to become a doctor. Bill wanted to be an artist and a writer. In early 1939, he was a shoe salesman. Bill loved literature, and he had ideas. He shared some of them with Bob Kane, a cartoonist he met at a party. Bob was so wowed that he asked Bill to write adventure stories for him to illustrate. They collaborated on a couple of comic book features that did get published, but didn't get much attention. Superman had debuted the year before and was a smash from the start. On Friday, Vin Sullivan, an editor at the company that would become DC Comics, told Bob that he wanted another superhero sensation. Bob said he'd have one by Monday. That weekend, this is interesting. That weekend, he sketched but felt that the character wasn't coming together. He needed help. As for who was the man for the job, he put his finger on it right away. Bob hightailed it to Bill's Bronx apartment. He showed Bill what he had drawn. Underneath, he scrawled a potential name, the Batman. Now, look at this. This is Bob Kane's idea for Batman, okay? Now, we wouldn't be talking about Batman today if Batman would have looked like Bob Kane wanted him to look. Red shirt, silly-looking wings, blonde hair, a mask like Robin wound up wearing. This was Bob Kane's Batman, all right? If it wasn't for Bill Finger, we wouldn't have the Batman we know and love. Wings aside, Bob's design reminded Bill too much of Superman. Bill figured a character named after a bat should look like a bat, should look menacing, even though he would be a good guy. The red Union suit struck Bill as too cheesy. He proposed colors that could better fade into the shadows. He recommended replacing the wisp of a mask with a cowl that covered all but Batman's chin. Pointing out an illustration of a bat in a dictionary, he said, "Why don't we duplicate the ears, the bat ears?" He felt that the wings were awkward. "I suggest you make a cape and scallop the edges." Bill said he would flow out behind him when he runs like bat and look like bat wings. He thought Batman would be more intimidating if he seemed that he had no pupils, just white slits for the eyes. That's the one thing I don't like. When they make, the Batman the mask, you don't see the eyes. I rather see the eyes. But anyway. Bill knew that Batman should not only look different from Superman, but also be different. Superman was alien born and and invincible. Bill thought that Batman should be a human being who could be hurt. A superhero without superpowers. Someone anyone could be. Bob liked Bill's changes. He liked his ideas. Yeah, sure. Because, man, anyway, wait till you hear what happens. Come Monday, Bob indeed had a superhero for Vin. Though the superhero's name was about all that remained of Bob's concept. Basically, Bob Kane just came up with the name. Okay? Bob showed Batman to Vin without Bill. Vin promptly wanted to run Batman, and Bob negotiated a deal without Bill. Without including Bill. Could you imagine? Batman had Bill's fingerprints all over him, yet Vin did not know there was a Bill. Unbelievable. This really pisses me off. And I love Batman. And to me, Bob Kane is the Joker. Bill Finger is the Batman. And this Joker got away with it. This Bob Kane. Bob Vane, this bastard. Bob told Bill that Batman would be published and asked Bill to write it. Without credit. Because such an arrangement was fairly typical. And because writing gigs were tough to get, but mainly because Bill was an agreeable sort, he said yes. With that, Bill took on his second secret identity. However, he would soon realize he had been blind about his bat. In April 1939, Batman flitted out onto the newsstands as the lead feature in Detective Comics number 27. Bill's writing style was influenced by trashy pulp magazines and classy novels, comic strips, and cinema. He fused it all into a type of character that readers had not seen before. A hero who looked like a villain, a vigilante who was a detective. Bill and Bob would sit in Poe Park, named for Edgar Allan Poe, father of the modern detective story, close to the cottage where Poe had lived a century before. The duo would brainstorm detective stories of their own. Yeah, probably all Bill Finger's ideas. Though Bill wanted Batman to differ from Superman, Batman instantly copied Superman in a most welcome way. The Dark Knight was a hot hit. At age 25, Bill no longer had to be a shoe salesman or anything else he wanted to be. Oh, wait a minute. Did I read that right? At age 25, Bill no longer had to be a shoe salesman or anything else or anyone else wanted him. Oh, okay. Here, I'll get it right. At age 25, Bill no longer had to be a shoe salesman or anything else anyone else wanted him to be. Batman became Batman, and Bill became a full-time, if modestly paid, anonymous writer. Almost immediately, Bob hired other artists to do the drawing, and insisted that they too work anonymously. This guy didn't want to give anybody else credit, this bastard. Among the first was a gifted 17-year-old named Jerry Robinson. Between deadlines, Bill and Jerry saw foreign films and played darts. Jerry knew Bill was increasingly troubled that Bob claimed all the credit for Batman. But Bill stuck with it. Now that Batman had caught on, he needed to come up with an origin for him. He asked himself what could drive a man to dress as a giant winged mammal and protect strangers from evil every night. He arrived at a horrific answer. A young boy stands by helplessly as muggers shoot his parents to death and get away. The boy gets away. The boy vows to prevent other people from suffering as he has. For years, he trains his mind and body until both are in peak condition. As an adult, he dons a grim costume and patrols the streets to strike terror into the superstitious, cowardly hearts of criminals. Before Bill, comic book characters saved lives simply because they were born heroes. Bill was the first to saddle a superhero with an emotional reason to wage war on crime. Through grief and rage, Batman was made a hero. So Bill Finger even came up with his origin about his parents being shot. He did everything, this guy. And Bob Kane took all the credit. You bastard, I hope you're burning in hell. Anyway, steadily, silently, Bill built a vivid world around Batman, knowing from secret identities. He'd given Batman one. He even gave Batman the identity, Bruce Wayne. One wealthy heir, Bruce Wayne, Bill dubbed Batman City Gotham after, and he even named Gotham City. Unbelievable. Gotham after seeing Bob Kane did nothing. He just came up with the name. Oh man. Bill dubbed Batman City Gotham after seeing the word in a phone book. He called Batman's car the Batmobile and his underground base the Batcave. Bill was an idea factory. Bob called him a boy wonder. Yeah, and I call Bob a thief. Batman doesn't have anyone to talk to, Bill said, so another boy wonder was born. A partner in crime, bursting and fellow orphan. A partner in crime busting, not crime bursting, and fellow orphan named Robin. Young readers who had imagined they could be Batman when they grew up now imagine they could be Robin tomorrow. Sales doubled. Heroes and other comics recruited their own sidekicks, their own kid sidekicks. Because Batman had Robin, they started making, other super, like Captain America and Bucky, on and on. In 1940, Batman got his own comic. In the first issue, he confronted a killer clown named the Joker and a beguiling burglar who became known as Catwoman. Bill concocted memorable rogues almost as regularly as some people compiled grocery lists. So Bill Finger also created Robin. He also created the Joker and the Catwoman. What did Bob Kane do? He took all the credit. Other comic creators were so impressed with Bill's talent that they couldn't. Oh, I forgot to show this picture with the Joker. See, that's how the first look, how the Joker first looked. Oh, and there's the Riddler and the Penguin and the Catwoman. All Bill Finger's ideas, and I guess Bob Kane drew them. Maybe he didn't even draw them. I don't know. Other comic creators were so impressed with Bill's talent that they couldn't keep his secret. They told editors that he, not Bob, was writing Batman. Thrilled, editors began giving Bill assignments directly. Both Bill and Bob kept working on Batman. The difference was that Bill no longer worked for Bob. Bill liked to ride through the city to think. As the bus picked up passengers, Bill picked up plots from street scenes and daydreams. He recorded stray facts, the boiling point of mercury, the Chinese character for virtue, what happens when a dog nose gets cold. In what he called his gimmick book, he routinely skimmed for a spark that might ignite a story. In time, he had a library of gimmick books at his fingertips. He even let other writers, his competitors, hunt for story ideas in them. I guess it's showing you how he got his ideas. Anyway, all right, we're almost near the end. In 1948, Bill and his wife, Porta, had their only child. They named him Fred. Bill called him Little Finger. Bill took Fred on weekend expeditions to the zoo or the planetarium. When Fred was still below the minimum age allowed to enter the American Museum of Natural History, Bill snuck him in. While his son was getting an education around town, Bill was collecting more gems for the gimmick book. In every person there is something that says, "I'd like to return to the innocence of my childhood," Bill said. To capture that, he sometimes asked Fred, his son, for his opinion on scripts. To see, what kids like. To get his stories just right, Bill worked long days and sometimes like Batman all night. Not like Batman, he fueled up on chicken soup to get through the wee hours. But Bill's gimmick gathering and art accumulating research methods often took more time than he was supposed to use. If Bill told someone he had a script due on Monday, it probably meant last Monday. Some editors put up with Bill's lateness because his stories turned out so crackerjack. Others could be cruel, yelling at Bill in front of his peers. During the first 25 years of Batman comics, Bill's name appeared in only one, sort of. A 1943 story depicted a poster for a concert by musicians Rengiff and Enoch, never heard of them. Oh, Renzik and Enoch, Finger and Kane backwards. Oh, they made up this group. Bob never offered Bill a byline. Bill may have asked for one at some point, but he had not pushed, though Bill's colleagues considered him the best comic book writer of his generation. His identity was still a secret to Batmanians, as fans were called. Okay, there's that page. Okay, yes, we're getting to the end. And okay, in 1964, that changed. Comics editor Jules Schwartz started to spill the beans about Bill. He announced that a fellow named Finger had written most of the classic Batman adventures of the past 2 decades. The next summer, New York City hosted the first large-scale comic convention. Bill and 3 others spoke on the first ever panel of comic creators. The panel moderator was a longtime Batman fan named Jerry Bales. He introduced Bill as the creator of many characters and as the Batman writer from the very start. This is that's the editor they were talking about. That's the comic panel. And Jerry also did his own detective work about his detective hero. The same summer as the convention, he interviewed Bill about the beginning of Batman, and for the first time on record, Bill revealed that he had done more on Batman than write stories. So I guess he also did some of the artwork. Later that year, Jerry put out an article based on the interview, and so fans learned Bill's third secret, identity, his role in creating Batman. Bill's final Batman comic book. Did I show this picture? Yeah, I want to make sure I get all the pictures. Okay. Bill's final Batman comic book story went on sale in late 1965. Wow. Here we are, 2004, and it's still Batman. In the early 1970s, he began writing stories for Mystery Comics. On the morning of Friday, January 18th, 1974, Bill owed DC Comics 2 scripts, but turned in only one. He assured the editor he'd have the other story on Monday. Came Monday, there was a Bill Finger story, but not the one the editor or anyone else wanted. That Friday afternoon, a month shy of his 60th birthday, Bill had passed away in his sleep. Now grown, Fred brought his father's ashes to a beach. He arranged them on the sand in a fitting shape. The tide crept in and swept them out to sea. And there's his son, and he makes it, of course, Bill's ashes in the shape of a bat. Bill died knowing Batman was one of only 2 superheroes to be published monthly without interruption since the 1930s, Superman being the other. He died having seen story by Bill Finger begin to run on reprints of his early Batman work, but it was mostly after he was gone that fans went to bat for Bill, urging DC to acknowledge him as co-creator. In a publication that came out shortly after Bill's death, the publisher of DC stated, Batman has lost one of his 2 real fathers. Yeah, one of his real fathers. The other guy was... In another, DC ran a full-page drawing of Batman bowing his head at a gravestone for Bill, and a summary of his career that ended. Few men have contributed as much to comics as Bill Finger. In Bob's later years, he showed a side few of any had seen before. Bill never received the fame and recognition he deserved, he said in 1989. If I could go back before he died, I would like to say I'll put your name on it now. You deserve it. Yeah. Too little too late, Bob. But Bob didn't amend the part of his contract requiring that he always be listed as the sole creator of Batman. So he had the contract drawn up that only his name would be credited. This guy was a real bastard, man. Jerry Robinson. Now, Jerry Robinson was another one with Bill Finger. They did a lot of the... As a matter of fact, Jerry Robinson and Bill Finger, he helped Bill Finger create Robin and the Joker and the Catwoman. And he didn't get any credit either. Jerry Robinson had long wanted a high-profile way to pay tribute to his old friend. He led the establishment of an award to honor past and present writers who greatly enriched the art of comic book storytelling. The award did not go to Bill because he was no longer with us, but it was named after him. In 2005, the first annual Bill Finger Awards for excellence in comic book writing were given out. Today, Bill Finger continues to inspire comic creators like Bruce Wayne. They vow to fight for justice, their own. They refuse to let what happened to Bill happen to them. From Milton to Bill, from salesman to Batman, from secret co-creator to unsung legend, Bill's most important story was not one he wrote, but the one he lived. Will his name ever be added to every Batman story? Batmanians are keeping their fingers crossed. Okay, now, since this book was written, now he is getting credit now. He started getting credit with the movie Batman versus Superman, which came look, all these years later. And Bill's long gone. He passed away in 1965. But he finally is getting the credit now. Ever since then, now you'll see Batman created by Bob Kane with Bill Finger. And his family, is getting the money that they should have always been getting. Anyway, that's that story. I'm going to take a shower because Bob Kane made me feel dirty. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, take care of yourselves.